Hey guys, in today's video we're going to be checking out a pretty interesting resin printer from a company called MINGDA, and it's called the Goldfish X. So in this video we're going to unbox it, set it up, and do some prints. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let's get started. Alright guys, so this is the Goldfish X resin printer, and we can see there's a picture of what it looks like. It's kind of round and I guess looks like a fishbowl maybe. So the box is not very large. It weighs about 10 pounds. And over here we have the dimensions of the package. Alright, so let's go ahead and open it up. I've already cut the seal. And as we open it, we can see we've got hard styrofoam, and there's a few things in here. So maybe it would have been better to open it from the bottom, but it looks like we can still go ahead and flip it around. And we'll just dump it out and pull the box up. We had something come out from the top, the power cord, and it looks like a pretty decent length. And we have quite a few other things up there, like the user manual. It's actually really nicely laid out. Shows you what everything is, the specs of the printer, all the parts included, and then how to use the machine. So yeah, very nice manual, but it was rolled up, so. Interestingly, we get one strain filter. It is 3M branded, so you'll use this whenever you pour the resin back into the bottle. And we got a couple more things in there that I can't reach, so let's go ahead and pull the top off. And check it out, guys. We can see the printer. Go ahead and get these out. All right, so it looks like we get some tools, an Allen wrench, a little X-Acto knife, I guess. And this is pretty nice to clean up your models. Quite an interesting knife. Looks like would be pretty useful. And then we also get a little USB thumb drive. It actually says Goldfish on it, which is pretty cool. So you'll have maybe a test file and to do slicing. But most likely this printer will use the ChiTuBox program, which is free and easy to use. So, all right, so I think, yeah, so this is the front here. So let's go ahead and pull this thing out. All right, so it is packed very well inside this hard foam and is very well protected during shipping. All right, and so this is what the printer looks like, and it's quite an interesting design for sure. And we're gonna take a closer look here in a second. Let's go ahead and open this lid. So it is completely round. Pop the plastic off of it. So quite unique because of its shape, and it's got a yellow tint to it for the control of UV rays. We got a nice logo here that says Goldfish X, and also a pretty large QR code up here, probably connecting to the MINGDA website for support. So on the inside we can see we have more foam, and it's also the hard foam, and it does come right out. And inside of it we have some pieces, which we have the build plate, and it looks like it's fully aluminum. It is tapered on two sides, so that should help drain the resin, and it's pretty thick. The bottom of it kind of has the same texture as this all around, so hopefully it'll stick pretty good, but we'll see. Looks like we do have some kind of adjustment here, clamps, and there is a spring inside, and we will be leveling the bed here in a little bit. Let's see what else we have in here. All right, so it looks like the power supply, and it is a 12 volt 5 amp, and our power plug will click into one end and the other end goes into the printer. And that looks like everything in here. So the knob from the top here, I guess unscrewed probably during shipping, and kind of fell into the tub. And also there's another little bolt in there. And I'm not too sure where this is from, but it's probably just an extra bolt. Maybe that was included with the printer. So that's everything that comes in the box. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at the printer itself. All right, so this is what the printer looks like. It's round on the bottom, which definitely looks interesting. But overall, it's, you know, the same as what you would usually find in a resin printer. So let's start here up front. We can see we have a pretty large touchscreen display. The bottom of the printer is completely plastic. Looks like a pretty strong and durable kind. We have vents on each side for cooling. And if we look at the bottom, we can see we got 3 feet, and they are rubberized, so they do stick to the table well. We got a pretty large vent here. We can see their fan and the manufacturing label. And as we go up, we start to see metal here on the top plate and our vat tub where the resin will go. Let's go ahead and cut it loose. So we got 2 knobs on each side here that we just cut loose, and they do stick with the tub, so that's nice. They don't just fall out. And there's a little handle here to grab it. and this is what it looks like. So it is made out of a plastic of some sort. Looks like a composite kind, which is totally fine. You got all those little bolts there. If you take them out, you can replace the film. So yeah, overall a pretty good design. It should work just fine. But also what I just noticed, guys, is it does have little feet. So if you can see those little nubs sticking out, you can set it down on the table and it doesn't sit completely down where it touches the film. All right, and here we have the 2K 6-inch monochrome LCD panel. So it's nicely integrated here. And also we have matrix UV lights underneath that shine through. And what that means is that instead of having one light that kind of spreads everywhere in a cone or something, it's actually multiple LEDs with optical diffusion where, you know, spreads everywhere evenly throughout the panel. So, all right, so let's look at the main printing parts. We have the arm here. It's all metal, aluminum looks like. We got the knob here that tightens the plate, and you guys can see the lead screw that goes through. And also we have the optical sensor there on the bottom. But the most impressive part about this whole thing here is the linear rail. So not only because it is the linear rail, because it's very large. And if you look at the lead screw, this is about the normal size of it. You can see how large the rail is itself. And the linear bearing is quite huge also, so you can kind of maybe judge it by my finger, but yeah, they definitely installed a really heavy duty linear rail system on this printer. Now, even though all that's heavy duty, what's interesting is they used this part here as also some kind of composite plastic, so it does seem to be pretty heavy duty, and it doesn't seem to flex at all that I can tell. Very little if you try to, you know, force it. So it does seem to be very sturdy, and you guys can see how thick it is. So yeah, it is quite beefy. Actually, guys, one detail I did miss is that on the top cover here, which is also plastic, but we do have a bearing here that's a guide for the lead screw. That's a nice detail there. All right, so now we are looking at the back of the printer, and we do have a door over here that actually we maybe should take off and see what's behind there real quick. There's only 2 bolts, but if we look over here, we have the power input port, and on the other side we have the power button, and above that we have the USB port where we're gonna plug in our thumb drive. All right, so let's pull this door off and we'll take a quick peek inside. So this is what we see. We got the main motherboard, and it does have the ARM 32-bit processor. Yeah, it looks like very nicely constructed, and everything is very well put together, it looks like. So yeah, pretty cool. Put this back. We'll flip it back around. Definitely love the rubber feet. It's quite grippy. And on the bed here, guys, I don't know if I mentioned, but this part here is plastic. So we have everything metal everywhere, but then our connector itself is plastic, which is an interesting choice, but it doesn't seem like, you know, a problem because it is quite short, so it is very stable. But let's go ahead and put our tub back in, and on the tub we also have a little max indicator there, not to overfill it. But yeah, these little nubs here, they do fall in right into little cutouts on the bed, which it just falls in, which is nice. There's no guessing where it goes, and then you just tighten it up with these knobs and you're ready to go. All right, so for the next part, let's go ahead and grab our power supply, and it does plug in here on the side, on the back, and we'll go ahead and turn this thing on. And if you guys remember, our power button is back here. So I'm gonna push it and we'll see if it powers on here. And there it goes. You see the main screen there. So yeah, really quick power on. So not a long wait at all for boot up. And if you guys hear like a beeping sound in the background, kind of, it's something outside beeping and I have no control over it. So I do apologize if you can hear that. All right, so let's take a closer look at the screen here. So we got tools, system, and print. If we click on tools, this is where we're gonna find different kind of things we can do. So we have the Z-axis up and down, and also the home. And this is how we're going to check the level. And we'll do that in a second. We have exposure here. So let's go ahead and pull this tub off. So if we click start, it's gonna build this image here on the top, and maybe you guys can see it there. And you can probably see those separate UV lights like we were talking about earlier. Yes, everything seems to work, and yeah, it turns off after 15 seconds. We got set to 0, so this is going to reset our Z-axis height. So we can use that if we need to. If when we click home, it's not in the right place, we can set a new home by setting it to 0, which is resetting the position. And then we got the stop button, so this just stops everything. And then we have a clean button here, and what this does, it just opens up the UV lights all the way, or the LCD completely opens where all light goes through, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. So it's just literally wide open, full UV lighting. And what this is good for is when you want to clean out the tub. So let's say you have extra resin in here and you want to harden it up, you can use this feature here to do that. And that's pretty much it, guys. You can see that's all we really need. So if we go back, we have system, we got information about the printer, and also here we can turn on the sound on and off. So I guess we'll leave it on. Calibration of the screen. Service, so this is how to contact the company, and languages, and it looks like we only have English and Chinese, so you're gonna switch between them here. So pretty simple, guys. And the print button is going to read our thumb drive or that USB port on the side. All right, so for the next part, let's go ahead and level the build plate. We're gonna go to Tools, Manual, and we're gonna raise it up. So it does come up 10 millimeters, and you can choose from 0.1 to 1 to 10. So a little more there. And then we can put our build plate on. So it just slides over, and we tighten this knob, and that locks it in. So the included wrench is for this bolt here that we gotta loosen. And that's gonna completely set the build plate loose, as you guys can see, and it moves in every direction. So it's kind of like a ball in there, I guess, with a spring also. So yeah, very nice. I like this design for sure. So now we just need some kind of paper. I'm just gonna use the manual, and I will use probably 3 sheets since they're really thin. And you just wanna put something here in between the plate and the LCD screen. And this is gonna give us the offset from the screen. So after that, we're gonna click home, and it's gonna go down onto our paper. And you guys can see as it goes down, it compresses the spring just a little bit. So we're gonna line it up, make sure this part's straight because it does go side to side. And since there is a spring, it is pushing down on it. You might wanna put just a little bit of pressure on there, but not too much because you don't wanna push too hard on the screen itself. And then we're gonna tighten that bolt on the side to lock it in. And simple as that, we should have a very level, flat build plate. So let's go up, and then we can home it again, and we can see what kind of gap we have, and we do have a pretty small even gap all around. So yeah, as simple as that, the build platform is leveled. Now you might need to go back and re-level it depending on, you know, if it needs to have maybe a bigger gap in between the screen and the plate. Let's say if you're getting, you know, elephant foot on your prints, you might not want to raise it up just a little bit. Or if it's not sticking at all or very well, you might need to lower it down a bit. But I mean, this is pretty low, so this should be just fine. And if we go up, we can see that we do have a screen also on the tub itself that, you know, adds to the thickness of it, so keep that in mind. All right, and so if everything looks good there, we can go ahead and raise it up a lot more, and we'll put our tub back in there. All right, so we're done there. Let's go ahead and see if there's anything on this thumb drive. So it does plug on this side, towards the back here on the side, and then we'll click on print, and here we can see there's some folders, and also maybe you guys can see there is a little test file folder here, it looks like. So let's click on it. All right, so it looks like it's jewelry, and there's actually a preview picture here that shows what it is. And I'm realizing, guys, you probably can't see very well, but yeah, here we can start it, delete it, looks like, and go back. So we can't start it yet because we haven't put any resin in the printer. So the resin I've been using lately is a water washable kind, which is a little bit less stinky and easier to clean the models, and just you know, a more simpler experience compared to using regular resin that requires alcohol. And that's another thing to consider, guys. If you're using a resin printer, make sure you are in a well ventilated area where you have air going through, because you know this stuff is quite toxic. And also, this printer didn't come with any kind of gloves or masks, so you might want to consider having that, especially when you have to pull the prints off the build plate. You definitely want to wear some kind of, you know, rubber gloves. So since we're just going to be pouring resin in, we don't need gloves for that. And I'm going to stir this up a bit, and you don't want to violently shake it. I'm just kind of twirling it. So I'm going to fill it up to the max line, since we're going to be printing here for a bit. And that should be good right there. Maybe that's actually a little more than need to be. Close our resin up right away. So yeah, now we're pretty much ready to print. So let's go ahead and click on that file, and we'll click play, and there it goes. It's starting. And so far, I don't hear any kind of noise from fans anywhere, which is interesting. Just the motor now going down. Okay, so filling it up that high might have been a little too much because we kind of went deep in there. So, all right, so it looks like it started our first print. According to that preview there, not sure what it's showing us. It's a picture layer there, or what it's printing, but maybe that's the bottom of the platform, so that makes sense, I guess. But yeah, now I can hear the fans came on, and it's actually quite quiet, guys. Okay, so it looks like our first layer is done, and it's going on the second layer. So I'm gonna bring my mic in so you guys can hear it. So yeah, overall I would say very quiet for the fans. and a little bit loud on the Z-axis stepper motor, I guess. But overall, I would still say this is a very quiet printer. All right, so now that everything looks good, we can go ahead and put the cover on. And that actually helps just a little bit with the sound also. So you definitely want to use the cover because it helps keep the smells in, and also it keeps UV lights from coming in and curing the resin. So you always want to have this on when you're printing. But yeah, it looks like everything is good and we're printing away. So let's go ahead and look at the options we have on the display. So on the top we have the preview layer. Then we got the percentage of how much is finished, which is at 1% right now. Then we got the file name, jewelry.ctb, which is the file type. And we can see here on the preview that we actually started printing the models now. So below the file name, we have how much time is going to take to finish this print, which is 2 hours and 11 minutes. And then we have the timer of how much time passed since we started, which is about 6 minutes. And all the way on the right, this is what layer we're on, which is 6 out of 658. And then we got a stop button, a pause button, and more options. So if we click on that, we can see here we can adjust the bottom layers, which is 8 of 50-second exposures. So there's going to be 8 layers of a longer exposure, and then after that it's going to be every 3 seconds. Then we also have an adjustment for the light off delay. So if you want to adjust anything, you just click on it and then put the parameter in and then check it. Yeah, pretty simple guys, but you have everything you need as far as adjustments go. So now that it's on layer 16, 17, it's doing every 3 seconds, and it's actually, you know, pretty quick interval, so you can see that. So yeah, it's boogieing along. All right guys, so we're printing away and we're at layer 122, so we're pretty high up in there. I want to test out a feature that I feel like every resin printer should have, and that is the pause feature, meaning that when it pauses, it needs to raise the plate so we can see, you know, if our model is stuck to it or not. So let's go ahead and take off the cover and we'll click the pause, and hopefully it'll raise up. It did raise, but it kind of spilled some resin because it was stuck to the film. What's important is that our models are stuck under there, if you guys can maybe see that. So yeah, this is great because once you start a print, you want to make sure that it's stuck, and this gives you that option to check it if it's sticking and everything is well before you get way up into the print and you can see it actually coming out. All right, so let's just resume it and it's gonna go back to printing. So yeah, very happy to see that it has that feature. So I think because I put too much resin in there, we did have a little spillage here. Yeah, definitely the max level should not be crossed, or maybe even below it would be better because it's too close to the top. All right, so we're looking pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and put the cover back on, and we'll continue to print this print out and we'll see what comes out. All right guys, so the print that was included on the thumb drive is finished, and as you can maybe see here, it failed. I think half of it is still in there. What's interesting is this is actually the second print that I did already, because the first one also printed the same way, failed exactly the same way. And so I thought maybe it's because I paused it and that was causing it. So I restarted it again and we get the same result again. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but I think maybe this file is corrupt or something's going on. So I think what we need to do is go to the slicer and slice our own file, and we'll print that out and see how that turns out. All right guys, so here we are in the computer. I got the thumb drive plugged in. Let's go ahead and see what's in here. Here we have the ChiTuBox program. Looks like for Windows only. We got a bunch of PDFs in different languages. What's kind of weird is the English one has a little preview picture of the printer where I was filming it, which is weird. Let me see here. So when I open it, it's the actual manual. Really weird, I haven't seen that. But yeah, just a bunch of PDFs here with the manual in different languages. And then we have that test file here, .ctb. And also I just noticed there's a Goldfish X configuration file, so this might be for ChiTuBox. But in any case, I already have the program downloaded to my computer, so let's go ahead and open it. See if I can fit it here in this recording window. So yeah, this is what ChiTuBox looks like. So I am on Mac, but the Windows version should look very similar. So the first thing you want to do is click on this settings button here, and that's going to bring out the parameters. Now if you're just first downloading this, it'll probably take you straight to this, and if we click here on add printer, this is the first thing you see here. So I'm not sure exactly what we should pick, so we'll just go with the default. The default here is in others. You can see default, so we'll just work from scratch here. But before we try to do this all ourselves, let's try to maybe get that configuration file if that's what it's for. So it's import file here, this button. Let's go to the disk drive, and sure enough, this folder is available to click on. So let's open it, and it loads up all of the parameters. Look at that, very nice. So that was easy, and you guys can see the resolution and the print volume here. Now, for some reason you didn't have that configuration file, you can copy this exactly and it should be the same. So on the resin here, it doesn't really matter. So these are all the parameters that they set for the printing, which we have 3 seconds exposures and a 0.05 layer height, which is pretty standard. So yeah. The G code, and then advanced, which anti-aliasing is set to 8, which is full. I wonder why they set it all the way up. Maybe it helps the print look better, so I guess we'll leave it at that. But yeah, simple as that, guys. We have the machine and we can rename it from default to Goldfish, and if we push enter, it changes the name to Goldfish. So our profile here now is called Goldfish. But yeah, we're done here, so we can exit this out. So now our printer is set up. We can go ahead and throw a model in here. So let's just go ahead and do the Eiffel Tower. So on the side here, we got some function buttons, like we can move the model around, or you can just grab it and move it around. You can rotate the model in every direction, or physically enter here. Scale the model. So we're going to click this scale to fit, and that's going to make it as big as possible. That way we can print the full height. But I think I'm going to change this to 149 just to make sure it's going to fit. And then up here we have a few more options, which we have hollow, dig hole, and then repair model. That does get a little bit more advanced, but yeah, if you guys are interested in how to do all that stuff, you could watch some tutorials out there. But if you look over here, we can see that there's another tab, and this is actually for supports. And here you have all the settings to play with the supports. Now, if you click on all right here, it's gonna just add the supports automatically, and actually it looks pretty good. But for this model here, we don't even need supports. So we're gonna click on remove all and get rid of them. So yeah, pretty much, guys, that's how it works here. It's quite intuitive, and this is our file here, and if you have more, this is where you'll select them, and this is also where you can delete the file. All right, so down here we have the big slice button, and if we hover over, you can see there's a box around our printing volume. So let's click it, and it's going to slice it. You guys can't see the bar on the bottom, but it was slicing it. And here we can see all the information about the slice, and we can also preview each layer here. Just pretty cool. And all of our parameters are down here for the printer. Here we have information on how much volume it's going to take, which is 17 milliliters, and the time is 9 hours and 32 minutes. So if we're happy with everything, we can click on the save button. On the bottom here, you can see all of the different kind of files ChiTuBox can make, and we need this one here, which is the CTB, and we're going to save it to our desktop. So click save, and it's writing the file here. So it's done. Now we're going to throw it into our thumb drive, and it copies it. So now we can go to the printer and print it out. So yeah, guys, not too hard to use the ChiTuBox. If you're on Mac, just go to ChiTuBox website and download it from there. And then you can use the config file here to set it up. All right, so we're gonna print out the Eiffel Tower, and hopefully we'll have better luck than our first print. All right, guys, so unfortunately, the Eiffel Tower wasn't able to finish, and it delaminated again between the model. So yeah, we definitely have some kind of issue, and I'm starting to think that maybe it's the resin itself. I might have diluted some water in it, not knowing from the last project that I used it on. So what we're gonna try next is getting rid of this resin, and we'll switch it to the normal resin that you'll need alcohol to clean with. So using this, we'll definitely know if, you know, something wrong with the goldfish or just our resin. All right, so let's go ahead and do the cleanup here. We'll remove the plate. We got a little sheet here I can set it down in. So we're gonna pour the resin out of the tub. So you will need a filter, and I already have one here because on the first fail, I did have to clean this out and restart it. So, but yeah, this is basically how you clean up the tub. It's pretty simple. And we do have 2 pour spouts on the front of it. It does seem a little more liquidy than usual, so I'm really thinking that's probably our problem. All right, so we're gonna wipe the edge, and you guys can see we have a little bit of a piece that's stuck to the bottom. So we just need to rub that off, and I got a plastic spatula for this. You definitely don't want to use anything metal on here. So it just popped right off. So we still have some resin in here. What we can do, put it back into the machine. Let's go ahead and close this bottle up. And we can go to tools and then clean, start, and that's gonna open it up here, and it's gonna cure whatever is left in here. But honestly, we don't have that much in there, so let's go for another round. But yeah, it is curing. That was about 30 seconds, and you guys can see it cured some of it here that we can just now peel off, but it might be a little thin. But yeah, this is the tank clean feature where you can cure whatever's left, but it might be better to leave a thicker layer if you want to, you know, it'd be easier to peel it off. So as simple as that, guys. Our tank is pretty much empty. Now I just rinse it off. All right, so I got everything cleaned up. Let's go ahead and pour in the new resin. So this is a translucent green, and it looks beautiful. And actually, guys, I think maybe we should go ahead and print the original file that came with it, and maybe we'll have better luck this time around. So let's go ahead and do that. Since it is quite a bit shorter, the Eiffel Tower does take a little while. So let's go for it. And there we go. Yeah, you guys can see how awesome that green is. All right, well, we've started a new print, and let's hope we're gonna have much better success this time around. All right, guys, so it finished and looks like we have a successful print. So yeah, it does look like we had bad resin, and this stuff does happen, unfortunately, but it's a good thing we were able to figure it out. And now we know for sure that we can go ahead and print more models. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean these up and start the Eiffel Tower again, and maybe print a few more things, and we'll take a closer look at that. Alright guys, so we were able to print quite a few prints here, and after we changed the resin, everything worked great. The goldfish performed as expected, and I'm actually pretty blown away with the print quality. All the prints are pretty small, which is pretty good because you'll be able to see how fine the details are, but it might be a little hard to show you guys. So let's go ahead and start with the prints that were included, which were these rings. We'll start with this one here. So this is like some kind of rose, I guess, or flower on top of the ring. So I didn't clean these up, I just kind of ripped them off the supports. Hopefully you guys can see how much details in here. So it's like a really fine mesh, and there's mesh in the ring part also. So yeah, you guys can see that you can print jewelry on this thing and enjoy it. So yeah, pretty cool. And because we are using this translucent green, it's gonna, you know, look a little funny because it'll be darker in some spots and lighter in others. So where it's darker, it's thicker, and where it's lighter, it's thinner. So, and then we got these two other rings which came in packs, which was 3 of each of these. So I'm just showing you 1 of each. So yeah, pretty much same thing here. Very nice quality prints. This is where our supports were down here. You can see a little scarring, but yeah, it looks great. Same thing for this one, also looks awesome. So it's like a lion's head, I guess, face. So you can tell maybe just a little bit that there's some kind of a layering, but overall it's quite nice and clean. So yeah, that was nice that we were able to print these, which is what came with the printer. So after that, I decided to print the Eiffel Tower, and this thing, guys, is actually the full height of what this printer can print. So I guess 149 millimeters is what this thing was. And if we look at it up close, you guys can see that the layers went down really good. And if you look at the railing here, that's pretty thin little bars there. So I think there was a piece of it somewhere where I messed it up when I was cleaning it. Yeah, there it is right there. We did have a little bit of delamination right here, so I'm not sure exactly what happened there. But yeah, if you guys look through the tower, you can see it's all opened up. Very nice detail. Impressive indeed. So yeah, I mean, the printer definitely performs as you would expect as far as the resolution is concerned. So let's look at this one here. So this is a droid, I guess that's what it's called, and his whole body is made out of these holes. Yeah, very nice print. The layers went down excellent. You can almost see the shine in it too. So, and on the head it's smooth here. Maybe you guys can really see how well the layers went down. You can see the aliasing right there a little bit. So we do still have a little bit of that, but it's so minor. Overall, it's extremely smooth. I did break off one of his little feet here when I was pulling it off. Just pulled on it and broke. So, but yeah, overall it's stuck. The tail did pull up, but the rest of it did stick, and it did print out, and it looks pretty awesome. So yeah, a great print here. Now the print that really impressed me is this millipede, and this thing is tiny, guys. I mean, if you can see my finger and all those little legs on this little tiny millipede, it's quite amazing, and they're links between each other. So what's crazy is that it all printed out and it's all connected and it didn't fall apart and stuck perfectly to the bed, which every foot you guys can see is perfect. And even more impressive that it popped off perfectly. So here we have a neuron of some sort, I guess. And what's interesting about this print is it's practically impossible to print unless you have a resin printer because of the shape of it. And you guys can see these bars are pretty thin and everything printed out beautifully. It's actually really strong. So it seems like the curing process works great and there's no defects or sagging or anything weird. So yeah, resin has a lot to do with how well your printer performs. So keep in mind that it's probably a good idea to get, you know, good quality resin. And so for the last print, we got this kind of like a benchmark print from Mary Labs. So overall, it seemed like it did great. Now everything on here means something. I'm not sure exactly what. If you go to their website, you can see that. And it's kind of fun to print this thing out on your own printer and see how well it does. And this model is free to download. So because this part is solid here, it seemed to kind of warp a bit. Maybe because I cured it too quick. But yeah, if you guys can see maybe the details on this thing. So there's a lot of detail. I'm just amazed of how well it did. Patterns and holes and shapes. Again, because it's translucent green, it's really hard to see what's going on because everything's kind of transparent. If we look over here, you can see all those little points that are popping up. And so this is from thicker to thinner, and you guys can see it did very well even to the thinnest one. So they also get taller. Yeah, it printed all of them out. Just the really thin ones started to kind of lean and curl. So, and that's probably just from being so thin. As they dry, they curl. Yeah, pretty incredible how the Goldfish putting the layers down very nicely. And we do have an H up here also. So yeah, I'm pretty impressed overall. I think this printer is doing what it's advertised to do. It is quite simple to use with the ChiTuBox program, as you guys saw. It does have a very reasonable build volume of 128 by 81 by 150. Large touchscreen display. Pretty quiet overall. And probably the most interesting part about it is the unique design. So I think if you did want something different than the typical, this would be a great choice. And would definitely make a great present for someone that maybe wants to get into 3D printing. Now keep in mind, you do have to buy your own resin, and I'd recommend buying some safety equipment like gloves and mask. And to make your life even easier, you could get a wash and cure station, which I have a few reviews of those, so check that out. I'll have some links at the end here. But yeah, if you are interested in this printer, I'm gonna have some links in the description. Check it out. And if you are interested in 3D printing, check out my playlist. I have a bunch of videos there. And if you did enjoy this video, then hit that like button. And as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.